Hello. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so much better. Thanks for, delaying this. I feel much, much better.
Of course, I'm so happy to hear you feel better and you sound good. Like it seems like you are over the hurdle, so that's great. Thank you so much for wanting to join me for an episode.
I'm thrilled.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. It is an absolute honor. For our listeners, we have the incredible Christina Kovac here with us today. In this edition of Book Space Chatter, we are going to be chatting all about her psychological thriller, Watch Us Fall. Now, I had the absolute honor of getting to read this one super duper early, and at the time, it was my favorite thriller of 2025, and that still stands true now. Like that's just my all-time favorite the entire year. So hats off to you. You want to explain a little bit about the book, what people can expect from it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so the elevator pitch, let's say. It's, the psychological suspense novel. It's about these four women. They just graduated from college and they were best friends in college, and they are starting this new life together, living in this really cool old house in Georgetown on my favorite street. It's if you ever get a chance to go, you should go. It's on O Street. It's really beautiful. It's got cobblestones and beautiful buildings and gas lights. It's just gorgeous.
Oh wow.
Um, so they're living in this house, and they're living, they're loving their lives. And one of them falls in love with this a celebrity journalist, and he is mysterious. The one of the main characters, Addie, who's kind of the leader of the group, she doesn't talk about him too much. So the girls, the other friends, become quite curious, interested.
Mhm.
And then next thing you know, Josh disappears. And the police call. They try to find out what happened. The girls become very worried and they begin their own search. But in the meantime, when they're on this search, which is a really very visible thing because the guy's a celebrity, their secrets all unravel.
The perfect setup of an elevator pitch. Like that was amazing.
Yeah.
If
I've
that
lived
doesn't,
with this for a long time. I love this book. I'm so thrilled you liked it.
oh my gosh, seriously, I am recommending it to everyone I know after like the official release. Like now, I got to enjoy it so early. I was just intrigued from like the cover alone, and then when I read the synopsis, I was just like, this sounds like the perfect thriller, and that it was. So, thank you for writing it. That's amazing.
Do you want to hear a secret about the cover?
I would love to.
So the original cover I didn't love.
Really?
Yeah. But I went to a party with my best friend down in Georgetown. It was a book party. This wonderful woman was debuting her book. And so we went, and it was in a house. And when I walked into the house, it was on R Street, not on O Street. The streets all go like LMNOP in DC,
Yeah.
so it's easy to find places. Anyway, so this house was on the east side of Georgetown, not the west. And I walked into this house and I turned to my friend Angie and I said, this is my house. This is my girl's house. And I knew where everything was. It was red brick in the front. It had a turret. It had the three levels. It was so wild. So Angie said, let's go take a picture. So we took a picture, and this was like a year before the cover designer, the cover artist came up with anything. He sent an idea of the cover to me and my agent, and I said, Dan, I don't think that's it. I think it needs to be the house. Let me show you this picture of this party I went to. And my agent, who's so wonderful, he said, oh my God, that's the house. That's it. That's the cover. And so that's the cover. There's an
Oh,
actual house in DC, looks just like that. Yeah.
that is the coolest little inside information. That is amazing. What are the odds of that? Just knowing
Oh,
instantly.
it was so weird. Also, that night that we went to the party, there was a tornado, which never happens around here. So, I mean, it was just like it was so many things coming at us all at once. Anyway, it was a gift of a
It
day.
was just kismet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like the perfect setup, and the fact that now when I look at that cover, that's what I'm going to be thinking of. So that's amazing.
It was a great party too, by the way.
Oh,
So.
well, that's always a plus. So you said that you lived with this book for a while before it was officially ready to release and ready to like get out there to early readers?
Yeah, I was in my first book came out in 2017 and under with a different editor who left. So I'd written a second book with her. It was under a two book deal. And so my agent said, you worked on that book with that editor. I don't know that I'm going to go looking for another editor because she left Simon and
Mhm.
Schuster. Um, can you write another book? And I was like, I've been really thinking about this other book because I knew I had to write a next book anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and this was right around the time of the pandemic, and I was thinking a lot about my kids growing up and going to college, and I was wondering what their lives would look like, in college, in the pandemic, and after the college, and I mean, after graduation. And I just thought, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to write about them. I would never write about my family. I
Mhm.
don't want to write about college because I didn't want to do that collegey thing. I wanted to do something about the next step in women's lives.
Yeah.
My oldest child is a daughter, and I just like to imagine, and I thought she was going to go to Georgetown. So I was kind of thinking, but she ended up not going. She went to college in upstate New York. But I wanted to imagine a really nice life for her, and that's really how it started.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like magical. And speaking of which, I love that that was sort of like the age group that we got with the book because there's not a lot of stories in that in between time. I'm almost 24, and so you don't really find a lot of, main characters or main plots centering around that certain age group. It's usually, 18-year-olds or like 30-year-olds. You don't find that middle spot of this 20s. So that was really great to get to have that.
And it's really a dramatic time, isn't it?
It
I mean,
really is because like you're trying to figure out like what are you going to do with your life? What do you want? What's your dreams? Like what makes you happy? Like where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like it's a time of chaos and fun, but lots of chaos.
it's definitely for mine. It was definitely a crossroads too. I got out of college, that safety net. I had
Mhm.
all my friends, and then I had to go find a job.
Right.
It was like, and then, you may or may not fall in love with someone and think, oh, okay, do I leave my friends and go? In Addie's case in this book, she has these friends who she's
Mhm.
so tight with, and they're all so loyal. They've been together for 4 years. And then here's this man who comes along who's she's just enamored with.
Yeah.
And he wants all her time and he wants to move her away. And I just think that's like another kind of typical thing that happens to women, the kind of pull between having your friends that you love so much and this kind of maybe new path.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that probably touches a lot of people's personal experience because it's a time when you have to feel like torn between, okay, this could be a really amazing adventure with my, significant other, and then you have like this life that you've built and that you've come accustomed to with your best friends. So,
Yeah. And no matter what you do, there's loss, right?
exactly. Either way you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was just amazing to get to have that kind of storyline going. And I love the friend group. How did you come up with the name the Sweeties?
So I said I said I never ever ever steal from my kids. I don't like to write about my kids, but um when I was writing it, my daughter started college during the pandemic. I mean, I literally had to drive her up to a university she had never seen. And then we had to have her quarantine. And I had no idea what her dorm looked like. So once she got settled into her dorm, and she was all alone in there until like the friend group came. And it was four people in a suite. And I thought, oh, you should call yourself the Sweeties. And then she was like, Mom, I'm not doing that. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take it.
There you go. I'll take it. You didn't want it. I'll claim it. That can be the adventure these girls have.
Yeah. And so in my head, I got to, she called home a lot, thank God for FaceTime and Zoom and all that kind of stuff. And I got to see kind of videos of her life. And it was really neat to kind of think, obviously, totally different universities, totally different experiences. But like, for example, Penelope is a pre-med student, and my daughter was a pre-med student. So
Oh,
it was like, yeah, so it was kind of like every now and then I pick up like a detail here and there. This is not Lauren at all, but and she'd show me her dorm, and I saw, oh, okay, I bet you they had a dorm just like that, or her dorm room, the little
yeah.
suite. And yeah, so that's what it came from. I stole it.
I love that. That's gotta be like so special though when you're able to like not necessarily incorporate your personal life to a T, but like put in little like God winks, if you will, and like little special, little special treats here throughout the book and that you can relate to and that relates to like a little glimpse of your life coming out in your words.
Yeah. It's really neat. And it's funny when every now and then people pick up on it. Like my best friend, I gave her an early copy and she said, "Oh my God, Christina, you're Josh Egan." I'm like, "Oh my God, no, I'm not. I'm not." But there is, some aspect of his personality, that I use because I'm not like any of those girls, even though I love them all, but or women, they're not girls. Um, but Josh's whole thing about like the hard work and the ambition and the this like kind of need for truth, I'm kind of like that. It can be a bad quality.
But it can also be very good and very well done. And I love getting to hear that because prior to writing your fictional stories, I know that you used to cover real life crime. How
Yeah.
did that, having that background sort of carry over into your fictionals?
I I think the biggest thing is like the dialogue
Hmm.
and the setting. Every single street that I wrote about is a street that I walked on. Every single, Casino Canal where in the opening, if you remember, Addie is attacked on
Hmm.
the canal. And I thought, oh, I've been on the towpath, and I just can't imagine her being attacked. So it had to be snowy, because usually it's just such a great place where you're just walking and people are, walking their dogs or bike riding or jogging or saying hello, or they just stop and talk. There's sometimes people stop and fish. And so it had to be a day that was stormy where
Hmm.
people would have stayed home. Um, like I said, so I know the city really well, even though I don't live in the city. And but when you work in news for 17 years, which is how long I did, um, yeah, what you do, you get to talk to a lot, you talk to a lot of police officers, you go to court, you study crime scenes. But what you also do is you talk to and meet so many different people. And I think that's the thing that kind of helped me the most with the dialogue, or has always helped me the most with dialogue and trying to create so many different kinds of characters because I've been so lucky that people have invited me into their home or their lives to tell me their stories.
Right.
Because of that, and I never take anyone's story, but you just remember pieces of them.
Yeah, it would have to provide somewhat of inspiration behind the characters. And, you can pull from this, pull from that, like all the memories that you have of, that life and that aspect and everything that you got to experience. It would have to be like a real thing to be able to be like, okay, how can I use this in my books?
I totally agree. And oh, and the other thing is you really get a feel for crime and what are the likelihood of crimes.
Yeah,
Um, where are the most dangerous places? And I don't like to put crimes in places that are likely, but that are believable. So
right.
I skitter away from like the things that you'd read in the news and try and do something in a really famous, beautiful place like the Casino Canal,
Yeah, exactly. It makes it, I think that was another thing that just made your thriller resonate so well is because it was just you could tell that you had this other lens, if you will, that you were, seeing it come to life and it was it felt like you were actually transported into the book because it was so real. like you said, not your typical places that this would happen or that this certain thing would happen.
Oh my gosh, I that is the nicest thing anyone ever told me.
Oh,
It's so nice. I mean, because as a writer, I don't want to be there. Like, I don't want you to feel my hand or feel my words. I really just want to give a reader the direct experience and let them walk around those streets and feel those characters and feel what they're feeling. And if I can do that, I mean, then maybe I've done my job.
you have, and you've done it very well because, like I said, I will not be shutting up about this book anytime soon. So I love getting to hear what the process of creating it was for you and how, having that experience in life has sort of transported into this. Did you always want to write, or was that just something that happened after?
No, yes. I mean, geez, I think every writer, if they're telling the truth, always wanted to write, but they were
Right.
afraid to try it because it's really hard. And it's really hard to make a living. And you think, I would really like to eat, buy groceries and pay rent and stuff like that. So and it takes so long to get started in this business. Uh, but I've always loved writing. The thing I really loved was storytelling, though.
Yeah.
So the journalism thing kind of got me through for a long time. And then finally, my husband said, I got stuck on an assignment like way past my kids' daycare time. And they got like stranded at daycare. It was the worst day of my life. My husband said, why don't you go part-time and just write? You want to write fiction? Just write fiction. I was like, you are a very good man. And so we did. That's how we did it.
Wow, that is amazing. And yeah, I can imagine how that life could be a little bit demanding here and there. 'Cause you have to be so committed and you have to hone your craft so well and you have to be put in these situations and talk to so many people, travel, and the main thing I wanted to do when I was younger was I wanted to be a journalist. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I've literally been through so many different options in my life. And that was what I had settled on. And then I had been sort of drawn to a marine biologist. But now
Oh,
but now I'm doing this. And so
I think books are most fun.
it
I,
is. And it's
I,
just a magical thing because I actually didn't read when I was younger for fun until I was 14, I think. And then I just like rediscovered my love of reading in recent years. And so it's just amazing how it can connect so many people
right.
and open so many doors. Like I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I hadn't made a little Instagram just to share my love for books. And then I started working in the industry and have a podcast. So it's just the best.
Congratulations. That's great. And that is the thing about books. They definitely connect people.
They
That is,
do.
which is really what we need in the world more of.
Yeah, exactly. And I always tell my friends that don't read, if you haven't picked up a book, you need to start with a thriller because while I love romance, I love fantasy. If you haven't read a book, I think a thriller is a great place to start because there's so much action, there's so much happening, totally engulfed. And so that's always my recommendation.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite moment while writing this book, like behind the scenes when you was creating this story?
This is the weirdest thing, but my favorite moment was the very beginning. I don't know if you remember the prologue, but in the first two lines were the first things I wrote. It was people still talk about what happened to Addie and Josh.
Yeah.
Some of what they say is true, some of it's not. You know how people are. And I just got her. And it's so weird too, because the sentence I thought of was waking up at 6 in the morning and I didn't even have my glasses on. I'm like, struggling, looking for a pen, and knocking stuff over and the whole thing. My husband's like, what is going on over there? You know, um, there was something about just those lines that felt like this was a character who wanted to be written. This was about three people, even very specifically within all the people, three people who had secrets. and that were deeply misunderstood. And I felt like it was just the weirdest thing. I was like, I want to try and understand these characters. And
Yeah.
so that was kind of the moment. And it was a really hard book to write, I'll be honest, because the psychology of it, I had to do all this research. I had to try and figure out whether, is that right? Is this how, people who have been traumatized or who had childhood trauma, is this how they act? I rewrote it. The I'd never done before a first person and a third person. So there were all kinds of bumps along the way, but always I went back to the prologue and I was like, I just really feel like this character needs to tell this particular story. I just have to figure out the way. And so then I thought, well, let me do the Josh point of view. I think maybe that's what I need. And then it really took off.
Yeah, I loved how you had them different kinds of aspects and like this was like I haven't read a whole lot of psychological thrillers,
Mhm.
so this was like such a I don't know, like I said, I it's my favorite of the year, but it was so much fun and I loved how it was so detailed and so rich with so much information going on inside of it.
Thank you.
And I love how your thrillers are set in Washington, D.C. What do you think sort of sets this book apart from others in the genre?
Um, I think aside from the setting, which I think is really beautiful, I highly encourage anyone to go for a walk through Georgetown, go for a walk on the C&O Canal, come to experience DC as it really is and talk to the real people because they're just really such great people. It was an honor to work in news there for so long.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I think that the big thing is that it's really at its core story about love
Hmm.
and obsessive love and loyalty and deep friendships, how far you're willing to go for people you love. I think it depicts, going too far for
Hmm.
love. And but I think that I don't like these monster stories. I don't like these, or I do like them. I did I didn't want that to live in my head for like 3 years. I wanted to write a story about love and friendship and what people do when they are trying to understand something difficult in them, but still trying to protect someone they love. And I think that's really, I think that's kind of what a lot of us are feeling right now anyway. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people feel very stressed out. And so I just wanted to write about that.
Exactly. And I love the little, you had Addie and Josh, and then you had the love aspect from the friend group, the
Mhm.
sweeties. And like you said, it tested loyalty off, like to the edges of the earth. Like that was such a captivating storyline. And like I'm keeping everything spoiler free, of course. But let's just
Yeah.
say I was shocked. I was shocked by the time I was done.
Oh, were you? Oh,
A
okay.
little bit. I was not expecting some things.
Well, it's funny because so many people say that, and I'm like, I thought that was I thought I was so afraid. I'm like, oh, people are gonna think this is so dull because I'm going straight there, and people are like,
Mm-mm. No, no, you got me good.
oh, good.
How fun is it for you to, not just this book in particular, but just writing in general, how fun is it for you to figure out if you're gonna do a plot twist? Do you know the ending before you start writing, or do you just sort of go with it?
So the book I'm writing right now, uh, actually, Watch Us Fall. I knew the ending. I just didn't really understand how it came about. I didn't understand how things could go so bad so fast. I guess,
Yeah.
I knew that these were all like basically good people. So there wasn't going to be anything like crazy. There's not going to be some like whatever. Um, so I just had to kind of feel my way through the character. I think the thing I love the most, well, twofold, is I love getting to know the characters. I love that so much. The plot is the plot, and I try and figure much of that out ahead of time.
Hmm.
But when a character comes on a page and they just sort of talk, like well, when I just thought when the prologue just kind of came to me, I don't think that's anything I was consciously thinking. Just, there's this image in my head of these girls in a tree, like that were like, um, that were like the girls that I happened to see on a hike one day. And then, the one is saying to me, people still talk about us. And I don't know, I don't really know where that comes from, but man, when it comes, it's so wild. It is wild. It is such an adrenaline rush. I mean, like I'm terrified of climbing, and I climb because I kind of like the adrenaline and I like being terrified. But that is the most adrenaline rush in the world, is hearing that, and saying like, where did that come from? Who is that? It's just weird. I don't know how to explain it. And I know so many writers who say it that I know that has nothing to do with like, me being talented or anything like that.
But you are, but continue.
Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's so cool when you have those certain books or those certain stories that will knock someone off their feet because it's not what you're expecting. It has so many twists and so many turns, and the fact that there's authors out there that can create those kinds of stories is absolutely mind-boggling to me, and I love it so much. And so, yeah, the time I was done, like, it's when you have to pick your jaw up off the floor. So that's
Yes.
always such a fun rush for me because, and I think that was another reason why I loved it so much was because sometimes when you're reading a thriller, you can sort of map out where it's going. Especially if you're like me and you love watching true crime, Law and Orders, and all that fun stuff. And so you can sort of like piece together, okay, now this might happen, or I bet this is what's going on.
Agree.
But when you have a book that does not do the thing that you would have pegged for it, it's really, really fun.
I think stories, they do have to follow logic. I think that's what you're talking about. The author has to follow the logic of the story, whatever the characters really would do in real life. In this particular case, I was lucky that all these people were so screwed up. They had no idea what they were doing, which is kind of like me when I was 23, but hey,
Are we all?
don't tell anyone. No, I think you're a lot more together than I was. Trust me. Trust me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Speaking of your love of thrillers, do you have some favorite thriller authors or thriller reads from some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh, so many. I'll tell you another secret I did.
Oh
See, but
boy.
you for calling me. Um, my publisher, who's just really the nicest editor in the world, she said to me, we're going to work on blurbs right now. Who would you like? And I was like, I want to just blurb my favorite authors. That's what I'm doing. Because if nothing else, what you do is you send a note to these authors and you say, I sent a note to Alifair Burke and I said, oh my God, I loved the note so much. The Better Sister was so amazing. I know that you must be like crazy busy because her book had just been made into a TV show for a limited series. I said, I know you must be terribly crazy, but if you have any time at all and you wish to do me this huge generosity that I will remember for the rest of my life, could you blur my book? So I did that. And so like you can actually look when my book comes out and see who my favorite authors are, because there they are. I mean, Angie Kim, who did Happiness Falls, which blew my mind. Alifair Burke, who I just mentioned, Janelle Brown, who is so instrumental in like from the moment she wrote a book called Watch Me Disappear, which weirdly sounds like my title now that I think about it. Anyway, so from that book on, I was like, I've read everything she's done and I just loved it. There's a guy named Lou Burney an author named Lou Burney, who wrote November Road, which it's my favorite book ever. So I just sent to them and I asked them, they're like, sure, okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Plus you get to talk to them and meet them and say, I really love your work.
Yeah.
I just really, really love your work and it would be so meaningful to me. So the blurbs are not just a marketing tool, as you know, which are,
Hmm.
that does its thing. But for me personally, they were like little love letters that I got to send when I requested.
That is so beautiful. And believe me when I say I cannot wait to get a physical copy for my bookshelf
Awesome.
when like I'm so excited. And I can't wait for everyone to get to read this story. I can't wait for everyone to pick it up. Like I said, I'm going to be recommending it to everyone. What do you think will be a favorite aspect people have from this book?
I think, a lot of readers will probably be Um, if the, I think a lot of readers will probably be women,
Hmm.
and I think that they'll probably be in either their 20s or older. And I think that if they're not seeing their lives and the pressures of their lives and um, how tumultuous their lives are at that moment, if they're not 23 years old, they can look back and remember what it was like maybe when they were that age, how hard it was to hold on to our friends and to hold on to love and to hold on to, like, I don't know, our sanity in the midst of all the drama that is the current day world.
Right.
And I think the thing that I hope people take away is, take good care of yourself so you can love better, you know.
That is really, really amazing. That's so sweet. It's such a great thing to want people to, take from this book. And I think they will because it just has everything, a little bit of everything for everyone in it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you wanted to come on here and chat about it today. I usually try to ask people because it always makes me curious. What three words would you use to describe Watch Us Fall?
Love is terror. That's horrible.
I was so not expecting that.
Yeah, love is terror. I think that these people loved each other so much that they just scared the hell out of each other.
And I think that just makes for the perfect read and well-rounded story.
Yeah.
That would have been a great tagline to use for marketing as well. Love is terror.
I just thought of that. My
Maybe
mark.
the next one.
Yeah. I mean, because the whole book, they're just worried so much about losing each other that they don't think about what they have.
I know, and I loved getting to also see Josh's point of view. That was really, really cool. And I loved how, with him being this huge investigative journalist, it wasn't no low profile case. It was a lot going on and a lot of questions were raised during the book. So that was just a really interesting way to take it.
One of the interesting things about that particular issue that you just raised about his celebrity locally and how like everybody knew him. When my agent first read the draft, he said, "Would police really come if an anchor or a news reporter was missing just a couple hours from work? Would police really go to his house to make sure he's okay?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, yes." I mean, this guy just blew the show. Like he did not show up. There's obviously something wrong with him. And not only that, but anchors in TV are a little bit like gods. They can pretty much do like whatever they want. And he was an anchor reporter, but he also came from a legacy that people had treated him differently. And that wasn't necessarily a good thing for him.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact that this guy who was so well known, who had this history that everyone remembered, would somehow become missing, became like a citywide obsession. And it really puts a lot of pressure on the story that I liked a lot.
Yeah. That's what I said. It was just I don't know, it was just the perfect way to sort of it's not all the time that you have that sort of weight attached to who's actually who disappears or who goes missing. It's usually, yes, your friends and the family are really worried. This brought it to a whole broadened sort of horizon.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah.
Thank you so much for wanting to chat with me today. I've had an absolute blast, and thank you for letting me get to read this book early. I cannot wait for everyone to get their hands on it. It was so much fun. And for our listeners, I will have all of Christina's socials and where to find her books linked in the description box, so you will be able to find her with the click of a button.
Thank you so much. I love being here.
Oh, of course. I'm so glad you've had a great time. It's been so fun getting to chat with you and getting to hear all the inside stories and the inspiration. So, thank you for wanting to do this with me.